Okay, with that, should be live, and should have a different audio setup, and I'm just hoping it sounds loud enough. I don't know that yet, but the meter on the OBS is not going into the red, it's just clipping it. So what I've done is I've got a new audio mixer. That would be, it's actually just off camera, so I'd have to swap to the other camera. So you can see that. So it's just down here. It's just a cheap USB mixing desk from Amazon, and the cable also came from Amazon. I think there was a $5 on top of that. It's a proper XLR to XLR cable, so it should be properly shielded and everything inside, so that might help with the RF issue getting into the audio chain. So still getting a suggestion of the audio bitrate, but as far as I'm aware, audio is going out, so I'll clear that and just get rid of that. So we should be good for audio. If not, I don't know why, but I can see the VU meter moving in front of me, so tablet's actually down on top of the case for the shack computer. I'll switch to the camera if I can. Yeah, I'm switched to it now. Right, so the only issue this mixing desk has when it's plugged into my Windows 10 tablet is it's bringing up the volume level on the screen as an on-screen display, and I can't seem to get rid of it, but that's by the by. So up outside antenna wise for 2 meters is my ground plane antenna, which is being fed by RG213 pretty much for the most of the run outside through the jump, and then RG213 back in here again. So the microphone was about £25 for the microphone and the stand and all the bits for it off Wish. It works quite well. So I've tested it, although I'm not sure if it's working too well now. This is the first time I've actually used it properly, because obviously it needs 48 volt phantom power, and that mixing desk is the only one I've got that can provide it. My Pro Sound one, which I was using on the last live stream, couldn't actually do that. So I've got a cup of tea with me for the beginning of the live stream, not for most of it. That's probably going to go cold if I don't drink it all by the end of the live stream. So that'll be just after I've finished on the Colburn and Richmondshire District Amateur Radio Society Clubnet on GB3IR, which I'll be hopefully, fingers crossed, be using the QYT KT8900D for. So that's assuming that no RF is getting into here. So, well, that's the theory anyway. So I'm going to go to 145525, and I'm gonna see what happens. I did give it a little test earlier on, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. So let's try not to knock my little treats that go in my cup of tea there off the desk and onto the floor, because that wouldn't be nice. Biscuits with dust in them. Well, one's a biscuit and one's a cake. Well, pie actually, if you think about it. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to check on 145525. I should not get any RF back. I was getting loads of it on the ever-ready dipole, even though I put a choke on that. So I'm not actually sure what happened there. So, to turn this down, because I'm about to open the squelch so I can hear what's going on. Yeah, we're obviously getting all that horrible pager interference, but there's nothing I can do about that. Which means the S meter is reading higher than it should. And sometimes I can hear it in the background. So, turn it down a bit. So I'll give it a go and see if there's anyone out there before I start transmitting. Is this frequency in use, please? Mike 0 Whiskey November Uniform. I'm not hearing anything through my headphones, so that's a promising start. Is this frequency in use, please? Mike 0, Whiskey November Uniform, asking. I'll ask one more time, it's only polite. Is this frequency in use, please? Mike 0, Whiskey November Uniform, asking. And a couple of minutes more, because I can still hear it even though I'm wearing headphones. The headphones are just to monitor the output of the microphone, just to make sure I'm not clipping it or anything, which shouldn't be. Seems okay, and right, so I'm just going to press the button and see what happens now. There's nothing heard. Mike 0, Whiskey November Uniform, just checking to make sure no RF's getting into the shack. And that, I would say, is good. No RF's got in. Not that distinctive buzz, nothing. As far as I'm aware at my end anyway. So, I'm just going to clear this frequency first. Mike 0, Whiskey November Uniform, now clear of the frequency. Let's turn that off. And I'll press that one, just put it back onto the repeater. So, that sounded promising from my headphones. There wasn't the distinctive buzz that I would be normally getting if there was RF getting into there. So I think using this microphone and this cable and this mixing desk might be the cure to my problem. Ferrite beads was going to be my next option, but I'm doubting they would have worked because I'm not because the main microphone volume control in the Pro Sound mixing desk's kind of bodged in there because I had to replace it, and involved cutting tracks and a few other things. It was a bit of a nightmare because the original one it broke, and it broke off the board, and I think it took some of the tracks with it as well, if I recall, when I went in there to investigate why it wasn't working. So the microphone I was using last time round was this one. This is a Pro Sound microphone, also from Maplin, and has the XLR input on it, but it came not with an XLR to XLR lead. Oh no, that would be too expensive. It came, if I can actually find the lead, because I had it earlier. Yeah, here it is. It's staring me right in the face. So, it came with this XLR connector on one end, which is fine for the microphone, but it had this 1/4 inch jack plug on the other end. So, not really what I would consider ideal for use where you want to try and keep RF out, because I suspect the screen probably wasn't connected properly at the XLR end or something. I don't know how it's connected. I've not really took it apart to have a look, but this XLR to XLR connector is actually doing the job nicely, of also supplying the 48 volts to this microphone, which is called a BM800. It's not an expensive microphone, it's cheap, but you know, you get what you pay for. But it's not picking up the RF, even from the antenna outside, which is actually pretty good going. So, right. Okay, so I've ascertained that it's not doing any RF into the mixing desk through normal analog FM from the main rig. I'm going to do the same again. I've just got to change the zone on here first. 145525 as before. I'm just going to turn the volume down on that, so I'm not sure how well it's going to reject this, but let's try it on this handheld at high power and see if we get that distinct noise or not. We might not. I've not actually tried this. What's happened there? It was receiving something. Not sure what it was receiving. I wasn't transmitting on anything. Okay. Not sure what that was all about. let's see. And let's see if we get any RF into the audio chain using a handheld. A little bit. Mike 0 Whiskey November uniform, just testing. Yeah, that's generating a little bit of RF in there, but not as much as it would normally do, unless that's just coming through on my headphones. I will play back the live stream later. So, that seems to be okay. Let's try DMR, so I've got to go back to the... I can't go back to the DMR hotspot, because I can run the echo test on that. I'll see what it was doing. Alright, so if I go... Right, parrot. Just to activate that. You might have heard something there, you might not. Okay. Mike 0 Whiskey November uniform, just testing. Mike 0 Whiskey November uniform testing.
Mike 0 Whiskey November uniform testing.
Okay, so that echoed me perfectly fine. I could hear just a little bit of the switching going on as it transmits and not transmits. I think that's how DMR works. It only transmits half the time, if I recall. So there's a little bit getting in there, but not so much. So I think this cheap mixing desk with a USB feed, it's going through USB hub on the tripod, which you can't actually see. Seems to be the cure here. So that's the only part of the setup that's actually changed. My tablet is the same, the cameras are the same, USB hub is the same. The only part that's changed is the mixing desk and the microphone, and removal of every sound card apart from the one built into the tablet itself, which I'm not using in this instance. So I think I've cracked it. Oops, excuse me. I'm going to put this back onto Hubnet now, because, you know, if you're on Hubnet you can possibly call in. Just go back. Where are we? There's Hubnet. So you can call in on Hubnet, or you can call in via the Zello on here. Just look for my call sign on there. If you're on this channel, you'll already know what my call sign is. Don't have Echolink on at the moment, so I was planning on that, but I haven't put that on. So it's just Zello, the Hubnet, and the GB3IR repeater if you want to do the Echolink route, or if you're within RF range of it. So it's telling me the live chat's not working. Okay. Nothing I can do about that if that's the case. So the whole idea of the stream was, this stream anyway, was to obviously see if that's working, and whether I can actually get the whole of the club net for the Colburn and Richmondshire District Amateur Radio Society actually done without any RF getting into the audio chain, which so far seems to be possible, or very little anyway if I'm using a handheld. So I think everything here is much better than what I've been using, which is good. So I haven't got anything planned for the channel, which I will have to try and get something planned. So if I can get something planned, that would be good. I haven't got anything planned. What else? So busy with work, of course. We're in this lockdown, as you already know. We have been for a couple of weeks now. So that's pretty much scuppered a lot of my plans, like I might have mentioned in one of my last videos. The last video I did was kind of something serious but silly at the same time with this Baofeng UV5R. It's where I pass an ultraviolet C wand across it, and as far as I'm aware, it actually has sterilised that. So, and that was available at B&M home stores, and that actually did quite surprise me when I actually went in there that day and found it, and I went out in the snow the next day to go get it after getting my car stuck. That was just a little bit annoying because I had to get it out the next day for work, and it was still a pain to get it out. So I got it out in the end though. So haven't done much in the way of CB, 11 metres, that sort of thing. Turn that down a minute while I'm talking to you guys. So obviously talking to. So right. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah. So getting out and doing other things for the channel is quite difficult. Obviously, what's going on, and there's the fact I'm busy working as well, and well, it just leaves me very little time to do anything. Hopefully, I can get something done in the next couple of days. Oh, this microphone's actually quite sensitive because there's traffic going past and it is picking it up, which I'm actually quite surprised about. So that's pretty good going for this microphone, which is mostly picking up sound in front of it. So that's actually pretty good. I like the microphone. I didn't, like I said, I didn't pay too much for it. I think it was about £25 or something off Wish, maybe a little bit more than that for the microphone, the pop filter, the windshield on the microphone, and the stand that it's on as well. Although I've been using the Pro Sound microphone on there behind the same pop shield, and when I've been recording voiceovers for my other videos, it's worked quite well. So does mean I've only got one mic stand and have to chop and change and move it about. The Pro Sound mixer will still be used, but for making the voiceovers for the videos, because I'll obviously still be using the computer, which is just an old server at the moment, for editing videos that I film. And there will be the odd one that I filmed straight from another device, which in the case of my last one was actually filmed from my personal phone, which is just down there beside the network radio. So, you know, not sure if there's anyone on GB3IR right now. I'll see if there is, because it might be worth talking to someone, because I managed to get someone the last time I did a live stream. So I'll see if there's anybody on there, and then you don't have to put it with DMR noise, because I know that's still getting in there. But not much, not as bad as it would be. So let's see. Mike 0, Whiskey November Uniform, listening GB3IR for any calls. Turn the volume up, might help. I'll just take that switch out of that. Okay. Doesn't appear to be anybody there right now, which is a shame, really. I'll follow the call out. Mike 0, Whiskey November Uniform, listening GB3IR for any calls. On the plus side, it sounds like the repeater's actually fully quietening to me, which it would be expected because it's only over in Richmond, which is only a couple of miles away. So, no one on that repeater at the moment. Oh, I've just lost my screen there. Hang on, let's come back now. Yeah, I think I know why that is. The signal to my main Wi-Fi router in here is very bad, which is why I have to use the router that's actually in the room to actually do the live streams. Very annoying, but there's nothing I can do about that right now. Okay, so which button am I looking for? That's this one, isn't it? I'm going to just change that to GB3CD, so that makes sense. I can actually get to that. Although I'd need to get the pager filter on that sooner rather than later, because it's very susceptible to pager noise, that radio, and there's not a lot I can do. So, after my last live stream, I was on Skype to my significant other, but my significant other had to go do other things. I managed to tune in to the repeater on board the International Space Station. I wasn't able to film it because, like I say, I was on Skype at the time. So, you know, I wasn't able to do anything with that, and I wasn't able to see if my ground plane antenna would have been sufficient enough to get into that. So I'm just trying to find the application here just to get into the... Okay, so I'm going to calculate the pass for that. It says the next one, the next highest elevation pass of the International Space Station is going to be at 2046. That sounds good to me. If it's got from the correct location, I'll just check this is getting my location properly, and I'll just re-update that. And let's get my location again. Set home location from GPS. Because it might have detected the last known location as being my work, but although it didn't seem to suggest that. So I'll just redo that again. Calculate pass. Now it's got a different satellite anyway, which is a bit annoying, so I need to find the ISS again. That's a bit annoying. This is interesting. I can't actually find an ISS in that list. Should be in there. As it was. So I'm going to see if I can try and receive the ISS repeater. There we go. As well, but that won't be on this live stream, which is unfortunate, because this live stream will have ended by that point. So might be a separate video later on. But it says the best chance I've got, the highest elevation pass is going to be at 2051. I'm now getting as the time for that. So that might be something I might have a look at later on tonight, if I remember and my significant other doesn't call me on Skype between times, or I don't call my significant other, which, you know. So that's something I've not tried. I might give it a go if I can get into it. I've got 25 watts here, but I think 25 watts might be too much. I don't know. Yeah, 25 watts might be a wee bit too much, I think. Because it is quite high up and it'll hear quite a lot of things. So, tea is just cheap Tesco tea, because I'm a bit of a cheapskate, as you can probably tell from the fact I didn't spend much on a mixer. That's just off camera, so there you go. And my setup's a bit cheap and cheerful and cobbled together. And I don't have much in the way of very expensive radio equipment. But I was willing to stretch to £1 for a box of these little things here. These are like little... They're called Viennese Whirls. They're made by a company called Mr. Kipling, for those of you who aren't in the UK. Mr. Kipling's a brand of baked goods that you can just buy at a normal supermarket. These are actually quite nice. Munching commences. I shouldn't talk with my mouth full, that's not really polite, is it? No. You know, these are quite nice. It's, I think it's raspberry jam and cream in there, and things of shortbread. Quite nice. They go nice with a cup of tea. So, we've ascertained that the only bit of RF I'm getting is off a handheld, and I'm just going to turn up the Hubnet. What's going on there?
Areas, you know, coming out to Rotherham probably. We shall know tomorrow anyway, but I'm pretty high up here, so...
They're talking about floods.
You know,
Yeah, if you haven't heard the latest, there's supposed to be a lot of rain coming, and it's supposed to flood, and melting snow's not supposed to really help that. You know, not a lot can do. I've got pizza for tea tonight. That's part of something else as well. I'll talk more about that when it comes to fruition. It hasn't quite come to fruition that yet. Now, I did get a message on WhatsApp probably a couple of weeks ago now, off one of my former colleagues from the last job I did, who I do still speak to. They were saying they were losing reception pretty much, I think it was within like 100 yards or so of a particular roundabout, which I actually pass every day. Losing mobile phone reception and radio reception. They did tell me whereabouts it was. But the only way for me to find out what's actually going on there, because they're saying it's happening to every car they've owned, so obviously it's not a problem with their car's equipment. So, just turn that down while I'm talking to you guys. So, what I'd have to do is I'd have to get hold of a spectrum analyzer, find out what's going on there, and also some kind of directional antenna for the frequencies involved, which I suspect may be the DAB frequencies as well. But the problem is the cheap spectrum analyzer I can get hold of doesn't go up to the 3G frequencies, which is very, very annoying. So I can't do anything about that. So that's something I will be looking at in the not too distant future, is a cheap spectrum analyzer. Now I know what I can get if I need a spectrum analyzer. Now this is a Nano VNA, which I'm sure most of you would be familiar with by now. The CB Brigade would probably know this from Fred in the Shed. This is actually from the same seller as the one that he bought. There's other various guises of this as well, in different styles of case. Now there also happens to be a spectrum analyzer in the same sort of case design as this. I can't remember what it's called, but I have seen it for sale, and I have seen it on Amazon, which is ideal because that means I'm not waiting for it to come from China. If as long as it's a fulfilled by Amazon product, what that means is the sellers send all their products to Amazon, and Amazon dispatch it from their warehouses. That's all that means. In simple terms, I'm not going to overcomplicate that because I do actually properly know how that works. So I'd need a spectrum analyzer to find out what my former colleague's problems were. I'm suspecting it's an issue with DAB, because he specified that it was having issues with radio stations operated by Bauer Media, and the only one I know of that operates on analog I was having absolutely no problems receiving when I tried to receive it myself from my own car. So I'm suspecting it's all DAB, and DAB is not a brilliant thing. It's absolutely useless. The guys over at ICQ Podcast have in the past referred to it as dead and buried. I'm not sure if they still do. So they probably do. Something else you should check out. It's quite an interesting podcast, although I've not actually listened to it in recent times, because I've just not had the chance to keep up with it. So I've managed to ascertain now that we're pretty much RF immune. I need a spectrum analyzer as well. And yeah. At 7 o'clock. So half an hour to go until the Colburn and Richmondshire District Amateur Radio Society Club Net. Assuming there's people on tonight. Could put the call out on the repeater once the repeater drops carrier. I can always do it now, but let's see if there's anyone else out there. Anyone out early? This might be Mike 0, Whiskey November uniform, listening GB3IR for any calls. Still no buzz from RF. That's excellent. I could hear the traffic from outside through my headphones, meaning this microphone is really, really sensitive. I'm impressed by that. Let's put another call out. Mike 0, Whiskey November uniform, listening GB3IR for any calls. There's still a tiny bit of RF getting in and knocking out this computer here, but it's not having an effect on the mixing desk, which makes me think that computer's RF shielding is slightly compromised. Unfortunately, there's not a lot I can do about that because it's even though the RF field down here from this radio at 10 watts should not be that high. I haven't really got a means to measure that. I've got a crude field strength meter, but well, the needle didn't move, I don't think, when I keyed up, so it should be okay. Okay, what we got? So we've still got something nice and sweet to have with my cup of tea. My spouse does complain that I might eat a bit too much sugar, and that could obviously lead to health issues, which would be a bad thing. So okay, so this sometimes is slow to key up, so I might have a go at seeing if it will key up. It seems to be okay, seems to be working. So that's the Zello channel that goes with this. If I haven't advertised it on the channel, then that's probably a bit silly of me, I might have to do that. So okay, so now comment I did get on one of my videos was about audio. Now I think that might have been on the last one I did. So what? It could have been on the last one I did. Yeah, I think it was. So that means I might have to rethink how I do the audio. That mixing desk is USB, so could in effect be connected up to the mobile phone that I'm filming off, but that would require a USB on the go adapter, and I'm not sure if that would work, because for starters it obviously requires that 48 volt supply into the microphone, and it has to obviously generate that internally. I think it's using a step up circuit in there, like a buck regulator or a transformer or something. I don't know how it's doing it, but it's doing it, and that might not make many mobile phones very happy, so I'd probably have to plug a microphone into a mobile phone or whatever device I'm having to use. That action camera there, which is the camera I think you can see me on, which is actually no, it's not. It's the other one. The camera you can see me on is actually the mobile phone. So if I just swapped it, that's the camera. That's the camera I'm talking about. The frame rate is a wee bit slow on that one. Nothing I can do about that. So that camera that I'm now on, which is that one, that's an action cam. It's a Goodman's one. It's sold at B&M home stores. Hence why it's got the Goodman's brand on it. Although I did see a Goodman's branded item on sale in Tesco, so that brand is obviously not exclusive to them. So that's got no microphone input in it whatsoever, so obviously I can't connect a microphone to it. The only that Alcatel phone that's acting as the other camera right now does have obviously a microphone input in there, but I'd need a splitter to convert the microphone and headphone combined output into two separate outputs, and I know you can get those and I know they're not too expensive, so that might be worth looking into, so I can plug a wireless microphone into one of those, because that will be a good thing to have. So that's a thought. So that's something I will have to invest in, because obviously I'm having audio issues, and also there's no audio input on any of my JVC camcorders, which is not brilliant at all. So I can't obviously do that. So that's just a point on the audio comment that I received, and I believe it was on the last video I released. So, and again, thank you to the individual that left that comment. I can't actually look at the comments right now because otherwise it might knock the stream off, and yeah, it's a bit of a pain. So just to I should really have the volume turned up on that, shouldn't I? Yeah, I should do. So see if, yeah, it doesn't seem to be much happening on the Hubnet at the moment. Let's see if there's anyone else on IR again. Mike 0 Whiskey November uniform, listening GB3IR for any calls. And again, no response. Okay. There's an M5 popped up there, that's interesting. I didn't hear them though because I didn't have the volume turned up.
Mike 5, Golf Whiskey Hotel. Good evening. I believe it's that was got the call sign correct. Can you please verify?
It's nice to hear activity on the Hubnet.
Yeah, good evening. You're speaking to Lee, QTH Newcastle on the line in North Staffordshire. Just having a bit of a...
Let's knock you off.
Well, that's just something I should have started. Shouldn't be doing, but I can't think what it was. Sunfish. So, they're all at the tea.
Let's turn that down. Right, so... And... I'm just gonna just keep seeing if there's anyone on IR. Because you never know, members of the club might be on early. Mike 0 Whiskey November uniform, listening GB3IR for any calls. Yeah, I think that's a no. Finally listening, no one happening. That tends to be the way, but in this time of obviously all these lockdowns and things, radio is a lifeline. I think there was something along the lines of that there was renewed interest sparked in radio because of all these lockdowns. I think that was on Delboy, his blog. Delboy is like always reports on CB and amateur radio things. He's featured a couple of videos from this channel. That's a bit embarrassing. Why did that pop up? Go, shoo. Right, so right, and yeah, so Delboy, he has featured a couple of my videos. I think the last one he did was when I did the little comparison videos, little shootout between the realistic TRC 1007, which I can actually see from here because you can't really miss it. So it's quite large. The Intec H520 Plus, which I actually can't see that from here. I don't know where that's gone. It might have landed on the floor for all I know, because it tends to like to land on the floor, especially when I've got the Albrecht CL27 on it, which I think was the last antenna I did have on it. Well, it is actually on it, because I can see the stock on there, and Midland 42, which I can actually see from here. It's just next to the well, the other Intec radio that I've got with the MT5050. I've got a DRS5070 as well, which is essentially the same thing as the MT5050, except it doesn't work. So I think the finals are dead, and getting the screening can off to actually get to the finals is a wee bit difficult. And yeah, it's probably going to require me to get one of those little heat pen things that you can get attached to a soldering station for reflowing surface mount components. I think that's what they're for. Because I can't obviously use my main heat gun because it's, well, I'll show you. It's down on the floor for some reason. I must have knocked it off where it usually goes. But that, yeah, I can't use that to get the solder off the screening can to get the final transistor, which I think's actually got to pop in there. So that's been a project that's been on hold for a while. I think it's kind of my own fault because I actually stuck a fake Nagoya NA771 antenna on it, but I think the vast majority of them are fake. Yeah, basically that's my own fault. Note to self, don't do that again. So I can see one of my Intec H520s. I think it's the broken one. Yeah, that will be the broken one. You can see my ASO-FT2D from here as well. That's in its charging dock at the moment. Last time I used it, the battery ran out, so I put it in there, but I've not taken it off. But it's got the charge off anyway, so it should be okay. It shouldn't harm the battery any. So I have not really done a lot radio-wise. My APRSI gate. Now that one. Now I did see an idea for a temporary antenna by Gilles, the radio prepper, just making an antenna out of 2 pieces of copper tape, the sort of stuff that you put around plant pots to stop slugs and snails eating all your plants. So I did see that and I thought that's a good idea, I might try that one, except I'd need some lead solder of the right gauge, because the lead solder I do have is the wrong gauge, and you know. And the lead-free solder is absolutely useless, which I'm sure many people can agree with. I should eat this Bakewell tart. It's been here a while, and I've still got my cup of tea to finish. So you know, more munching will ensue. Now these are quite nice. It's a little glacé cherry on the top, and icing. It's another Mr. Kipling product. And they're right, he does make exceedingly good cakes. Although, when I did my research I found out that Mr. Kipling actually wasn't a real person. They just came up with a name just to make it sound like, oh, it came from a baker's. But we're going to sell it in the supermarkets. Yeah. You know. There's £1 for these in the local Iceland. Other good supermarkets are available. And I thought, yeah, why not? I'll treat myself to some Mr. Kipling cakes. Because why not? Radio and cake, it seems to go together. Like radio and coffee. Oh, ooh, ooh. Mm. Do excuse me. The whole thing just disintegrated on me. That's annoying. I don't normally eat through here. Well, I try not to anyway. Plus, obviously, you don't want to spill stuff on radio gear. Though, you know. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, so I've got my CB here, and it's powered up. Because I was testing the coax for the that I was going to use for the 2 meter antenna from this CB into a dummy load, because it's got an SWR meter on it, just to make sure the cable was fine. Cable's fine. because I lost the adapter to connect that to the VNA, which is a bit of a pain. I don't know what's happened to the adapter. I would have half expected it to have been on here somewhere. Plenty of wires and things. Just having a nosy. And yeah, because I was getting some really screwy readings. This isn't the adapter. This is it? Oh, you know what? This is the adapter I was actually looking for. I thought this was the old one. The old one's got the pin broke off after it sheared off when I was connecting RG213 to that and into my new Echolink SDR Smart, which I can't see from here. Nice. Bagel tart stuck in my teeth as well. That's not pleasant. So yeah, well, about that mixing desk that I'm using, it's called a Depusheng U6. Yeah, cheap and Chinese. So I'm surprised it's actually tolerating this RF bad environment. So it's tolerating it quite well, which I'm actually very impressed about. So it came with this cable, which is basically the little headphone style plug into two phono connectors, but on the end it had a phono connector to the bigger connector, which makes me think that they supplied it so you could plug it into the output of the desk or use it on the input, because the input and the output on straight up out, other than USB, on that mixing desk is actually using, instead of using the XLR, which is what my Pro Sound uses, it's actually using the larger connectors, the 1/4 inch type phone connectors. So I'm not sure how that would be the way it is. The monitor headphones themselves, I'm using what I normally used when I'm operating on the air when I need to use a pair of headphones. Obviously I can't plug them into the KT8900D because it makes it do weird things, because it's got an absolutely weird connector on the back that, although I know what the pin out is, it's just a wee bit odd. So I tend to avoid using that. So I can't plug an extension speaker or anything into it. I do have an adapter for these headphones which allows me just to plug them into any radio. So like this President Grant 2 CB, obviously it's a mono output on the back. If I plug these in, I'd only get audio out of one side. If I plug an adapter that I made, which is just a couple of resistors connecting the left and right channels together, I do have that somewhere, but it's not here at the moment that I can see. Then that way it allows me to listen through both sides, and it's good. So if you're ever stuck for a way to connect it together, I mean, it's just a commonly available mixing circuit that you just can build on a piece of Vero board, and if you've got the socket lying around, then that's fine. What I did with mine was I used a couple of resistors, obviously experimented with the values a bit, and then I obviously put a stereo jack plug in for the headphones, and that made it work perfectly. And then I just covered it with heat shrink, using a technique that I borrowed from a previous place where I worked, where they would heat shrink products over and seal it shut while the heat shrink was still hot. Except I was doing this with a small item, they were like doing this with quite large items, so it works. So that's why I've got the Grant 2 out today, and that's why I got it plugged in, but I think there's a slight issue with the power connector to the power supply for that. Another thing I've done is my little voltmeter that I have here. Until I build a proper closed power supply unit for everything here, which is what I was going to put this in, I've glued it using hot melt glue to the back of this wooden stand where the computer is. It's just a bead of hot melt glue run along the back, that's all that is, and I've had to obviously recalibrate that slightly so it reads 13.8 volts, which is what's coming off that power supply. It's a bit buzzy now, that power supply, so I think it's starting to get on a bit, but so I've had it a few years, but it does the job. The capacitors aren't on the way out yet that I know of. if there was any buzzy noises getting onto the transmissions from any of my radios, then that would probably be indicative of that, but I've not actually tried that. So, yeah, seems to work well. So, I've also discovered a source QRM in my car when I try and charge a phone. It seems to be a charger that I bought off Wish that is allegedly capable of quick charge, although that's to be believed or not. So I'm going to have to find out how I can nullify that, we shall say, because it's putting about S5 of noise on the CB, which in my car is a Thunderbolt T3000. It's having no effect whatsoever on my Yaesu FTM 400, which is a 2 meter and 70 centimeter set, which I tend to use more than the CB anyway, because all I'm hearing on the CB really is the burner brigade that sits on channel 19, effing and blinding. And well, the other night when I was listening, there was a guy on there, I think it was in Middlesbrough somewhere, talking about his own conspiracy theories about this whole situation with the pandemic, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm listening to that. So, you know, you hear some odd things on CB radio. Well, this isn't going to receive anything anyway, so I'm going to turn it off because I don't have that antenna up. I'm going to put that antenna up at some point, because obviously there's some things I want to do which requires me to have the CB setup going. But at the moment I don't need it up. I've got the 2 meter antenna up instead, and you know, I'm just going to have a flick around, I think. It's worth having a flick around. I'm not going to turn off the... I'm not going to press that monitor button, because that's listening to... What was that? This jumps a bit as well, so it's hard to... That's just a bit of noise, that one, so that's fine. Like I say, this is really bad for picking up absolutely everything, including pager noise. Now, pagers are useful in society. They are very useful. Let's go back to the repeater. But the problem is that very high power transmitters basically overload anything that's got a really poorly built front end, such as the Lexington Legend VV898, which I do own, and I do have a video on that being absolutely obliterated by pager noise. The QYT KT8900D, which seems to handle it a bit better but still gets obliterated, and of course the Baofeng UV5R and other Baofengs. This Anytone I've not actually put onto a base antenna to actually even see if it's susceptible to that, because I'm getting quite a lot of pager noise here. Now, you know they find their way into amateur radio, and that's my amateur radio pager, which is an Alpha POC 602R, which is just a cheap Chinese pager, but I bought this in from Germany, which would actually be more difficult now than what it was when I bought it. It's obviously with Brexit and all sorts. So, and getting the programming cable's difficult, so I've not seen anywhere in China that's selling the programming cable on its own. They're just selling it with the pager, which is very annoying. Which means I'm paying for something else that I don't really need because I've already got. So all the menus on this are still in German at the moment. So the only way to get that into English would be to get hold of the programming cable. Which, once I do, and if they do sell the programming cable, I will probably, you know, do a video on how to do that for anyone who does actually end up buying one of those pages and finds it's all in German. But they're targeting these at people who use the DAPnet, which like myself, although at the moment this is just receiving absolutely anything that I've told it to receive. It's quite cool though, I like it. I like old retro technology like that. That's why I like CB radio as well, because it's old and retro-y. Although they are making new radios like the T3000 that I've got in my car and the T800, which is actually in the other room at the moment, because I was doing that for the aborted Christmas video. So, yeah. That's why that was in there. Yeah, so it's all good. Just waiting for this net to start now, because it's coming up to 7:25. Once this is done, once the net's done, I'm probably going to think about maybe getting my tea on the go. So I'd be ending the live stream as soon as the net's done. However, I'm going to try and receive the ISS and see if I can work through it as well. So that might be worth a look at. I'm not sure whether I'll be recording that or not. Am I on GB3IR? I am. So I've got 5 minutes before the weekly net starts. So let's put a call out now and see if there's anybody there. I'm a little early to the show. Mike 0, Whiskey November uniform, listening GB3IR for any calls.
Paul G8YPN, come on, looking 5 minutes early. How are you doing? G8YPN, bye.
Oh, the fan's kicked in. Oh, brilliant.
G8YPN, sorry, I should press. I hit the wrong button and disappeared.
Whoops.
I've just locked it. Yeah, no, I'm doing alright. A few had some bad news this week, but seems to be getting better. I've not been about. I said I would. I know if you didn't hear us last week, we were discussing having another Zoom meeting. And I said I would discuss it with Chris and Martin, but which I haven't done because I've had a few other things that cropped up in the way. And maybe I should write it in my diary do it tomorrow, but something will crop up in the morning, no doubt. But that's the only problem really, and I think that's a good idea. Depending on what we want to discuss, or we just have a quick meeting on Zoom to put some ideas together, because I can't see us getting back to the club for a while yet. Paul, can you? M0WNU G8YPN.
Yeah, the fan keeps kicking in. It's a little dingy fan and it's really loud.
G8YPN, I thought there was somebody there actually keying up, maybe not. Yeah, well I'll ring them I'll have to ring them this week and say there's two friends actually that was rushed into hospital with COVID. That's where the problem been.
Oh, nasty.
Well, they were both taken out of intensive care, but one's had to be put back in again. They're actually parents of the grandparent of a friend of the family. So
Oh dear.
it's getting closer to us here. But
Yes, it is.
I've hardly been anywhere this week for other reasons. But anyway, I think that's the way to go. I think we'll just have to. It depends on what. It'd be nice to have something to do like we did with the quiz and things like that, and the one that Chris did with different sounds that you can hear on the airwaves. It's just some idea, throw some ideas together, really, isn't it? Someone to put something together. I suppose theoretically I've got time, but things keep getting in the way of what I want to do. Anyway, see if there's anybody else there. She's called Fate Yankee for part November, part of the Colburn, Richmondshire and District Amateur Radio Society. See if there's anybody else who wants to join the net. G8YPN, bye.
I'm trying. Whoever that is, not succeeding. Let's let Dave pick it up again. Nasty to hear that COVID's getting closer and closer to him. Unfortunately, it's the way of the world.
Looks like we're on our own, Paul. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mike 0, Whiskey November uniform. Just checking I'm not doubling there first. Yeah, did hear someone there. You want to come back there with your call sign there from Mike 0, Whiskey November uniform. You've also got Dave G8YPN. Oh.
Got an error. Yeah, there was somebody there, Paul, and very, very weak. Very, very soft audio. But anyway, you take it over and see if there's anybody else there. There's no point in hanging on if there's nobody going to turn up. Well, I must admit, I did put the thing on late because other things got in the way again today. It's been one of those funny days where I plan out to do things and nothing goes according to plan. Anyway, see if there is anybody there and you take it up, Paul, if there isn't. GAYPN, bye. I have to rush out to work. I don't have to. It's to me, the sort of lockdown make any difference to me. It's the fact I just don't go out anywhere other than shopping and bits and pieces like that. Maybe go to the garage. I haven't been to the garage this week. But last week I spent 2 or 3 days at the garage doing the mini. But I've done a bit of amateur radio work for a new feeder in for my HF antenna. Brought the balun was outside. Now it's actually in. I've bolted a box onto the side of the garage here. So the next job is to ring the rest of the feeders in there. But I want to try and replace them at the same time. I've got a roll of coax with Mac and I bought a roll of coax. So he wanted some and I need some. So instead of buying it in bits, we bought a large roll between us. It's one or two hit and misses with their PL259s I've been using that come. I forgot the name of it now. I'd have to get the bit of paper up. But they're awkward to put together, but they are a lot better. Well, they're all really well engineered. It was a false start on my part. My biggest problem is getting it to solder the centre core in, but that's down to not been doing it for a long, long time. That sort of intricate work. I think I need some thinner solder as well. The one I've got is at least 1 mil. I want something like 0.5, something like that, probably to do you have to solder to a very, very fine hole. Anyway, that's what I've been up to. It seems to work. I worked up into Scotland on top band the other night and down into Dunstable the other morning. I was talking to another chap's named David down there. So if I'm about in the morning, I'll have a quick natter with him if he's on. But that's what I've been up to actually. The other thing is just been doing family things, and I've started to rebuild a model railway, which I started a while ago, which I decided I needed a different plan to it, so I've been doing that. But yeah, excuse me. But if you want to go, Paul, it's okay. If you want to do something else, it's no problem. I'll hang around for a while. I've just glued some stuff down, so I'm waiting for that to dry before I go back and do any more work on that. And I've got some emails to answer anyway. So I'll hang around for a while, see if anybody turns up. If not, it's quite alright if you want to. I know it feels like you're working and you get home. There's other things to do, isn't there, when you walk through the door? And hopefully you're free. You get yourself together and you get the other partner or your other half back into UK. But you say it's not too good with this COVID thing, is it? You know, even if you get together, you never, if you can get permission to come in. Anyway, back to you, Paul. G8YPN, bye. Figures out whether they wanted to cancel it. I was a bit. We shouldn't really have accepted the transfer from last year to this year. But it's one of those things. We didn't know no one expected to go this long, and I can't see us. Maybe we're getting away towards the end of the year, but by that time, the things we wanted to do, you know, it's gone past the period we were going away anyway. So anyway, hopefully we'll see how much we get back from it, how much argument we get over the fact that we want our money back. Anyway, that's what I've got to worry about at the moment. I've been doing things here. I've got the car to go in tomorrow. Something gone wrong with that. That was one of the problems today. Luckily I've got two, so I can always pick the other one out. Anyway, I wish you 73s, Paul. You go and do whatever you've got to do. I'll sit around for a while, see if anybody turns up, and then I'll just answer these couple of emails I've got from the family and things. And there's one of the things I'm getting rather. I should be down in Cheshire again this month, but I'm not going to get there till later in the year. The things to sort out down there. Anyway, 73 for now. Catch you later. Thanks for coming on to the net anyway, Paul. And you keep, as you say, if they keep offering you training in other jobs, just keep taking it. I did that.
It's trying to send. Oh, it is sending. Right. Okay. Hopefully it's working this time. I've just reset it again on OBS. I'm not sure what's going on. I think, because this certainly has never happened before, I think what's happened here is that I think my connection is being a bit throttled. I'm not sure what's going on there, so I'm actually going to have to cut the thing short. I couldn't respond to anyone on the live chat because the live chat wasn't working for me, but I can see you all now and just say hello to everybody. What on earth? Oh, and the same person that commented on my audio before has commented again to tell me it's much louder. Now that's great. That's a thumbs up, and want to thank that individual. And of course, you know, I'm sorry I couldn't bring you the Colburn and Richmondshire District Amateur Radio Society net tonight, but I managed to prove that I can do a live stream with no RF in the chain. So I'm now going to go off and get my dinner. Sorry about the technical issues right at the end. That's unfortunately beyond my control. I do not know what caused that, but it's all working now. It certainly wasn't the RF getting into that computer down there, because that computer's a little bit more resilient. And it's never happened before when I've transmitted on that radio, or any radio, so I'm not sure what happened there. So it's time for me to bid you all a very good evening, and also hope to see you in the next live stream. I'm going to try and get one out. And sorry I couldn't respond to anyone in the live chat because it just was not working for me, and you know, these things happen. So it still says no data though. What's going on here? No, it's saying excellent stream is healthy. I'm still connected according to OBS. Oh dear. That's not ideal. Oh, excellent connection. Right. Technicalities and technical issues aside, I'm now going to go and go make my dinner, and I'm having a pizza for my dinner tonight. Not one from the place I used to work because they're expensive. One that I bought from Iceland. I'm just going to stick in the oven. I've had to put it in the fridge because there's no room in my freezer. So you know. So, oh, there nearly goes my anytone. So, have a good night, and for those of you are watching the playback of the stream, I'm sorry again. I'm also sorry I couldn't bring you the Colburn and Richmondshire District Amateur Radio Society Club net because there's no one on apart from myself and Dave. So, anyway, I think the technical issues have ironed themselves out. I think the RF's not getting into the audio chain. I mean, if it was getting into this computer down here, it would have knocked everything out. So it's not, and it wouldn't have been getting into the router in this room, so that's too far away. It's actually in the cupboard there. I can just see it through the door. There you go. Right, I'm off. So I'm just waffling now. I'm off. Sempre guys, have a good night, and again, apologies that I wasn't able to respond to you earlier in the live chat, and hopefully we can do it all again next week. If not, it will be the week after, definitely. So, Sempre for now, guys.